Welcome, everyone, to the latest installment of our NASJE podcast, Spotlights. And today we're going to spotlight one of NASJE's programs, the Mentor Mentee Program. And so we have some folks here who are mentor mentees and who've also worked on that committee as well. So we have Julie and Caroline, who are our mentee mentor, and Christine and Leanne. Welcome, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's just get it kicked off. We like to do some fun questions to get everyone warmed up. So our first one here is coffee or tea? And we'll start with you, Julie.
Yes. I like both. It depends on the mood and the season, but this morning it's coffee.
What about you, Christine?
I would say AM and PM. I'm on the decaf train right now, so I'm still hanging on to coffee in the morning, but I've been enjoying my tea.
Leanne?
Neither. I am a Coke girl, so it is my caffeine of choice.
Nice. That is the first time someone has been a neither on our podcast. What about you, Caroline?
Definitely coffee in the morning and then tea sometimes in the afternoon, but just like Julie said, yes to both.
That's fantastic. And I think it's important for Amber and I to introduce ourselves as well. My name is Aaron Burdick, and Amber Myers will also be our co-host for the podcast here today. And I always think it's great to ask this next question as well, because it really kind of shows where people might be going on their next vacation, beach or mountains. And so why don't we start off with Leanne?
That is mountains. I have a mountain cabin in Red Lodge, Montana. So that is where I am when I'm not here.
Caroline, you want to go next?
Sure. Beach girl all the way.
Christine?
I'm going to say beach. Mountains is a close second. In Columbia, we're lucky. We're living about in the middle of both, so we can pick a weekend and go either way.
And I am definitely a beach girl as well, although my last trip was to the mountains and I actually really, really loved it. But I can't be away from the ocean for too long.
Yes, we've learned somehow that those of us in judicial education are also super big on travel. So that's been the theme of everything podcast related, I feel like. And yes, I am Amber Myers from Texas. So thanks, Aaron, for always cleaning up when I forget things.
And I'm from Illinois as well. I forgot to mention that. So thank you, Amber, for looking out for me as well.
We're learning as we go. Another fun question everyone has enjoyed is the favorite photo on your phone from the last month. And we give bonus points to anyone who will share for us to add them into the recording. Julie looks ready. You look the most ready here.
So mine is actually I just took yesterday. I set up a little stand and my camera and did family photos of us in our Christmas jammies for this year.
Nice. Caroline?
Interesting, given that our last question was beach or mountains. My favorite photo in the past month was of my son and I. We went to the mountains for Thanksgiving with my mom, and he is 14, so he really doesn't ever want to be in pictures with me. So I made him take one, and it turned out not so bad. So definitely going with that one.
Awesome. Christine?
I'd say a picture of our youngest child riding horses during sunset a couple Fridays ago. It was a very picturesque moment, and as the last child at home and the only extracurricular activity, I always enjoy going to watch her ride.
Nice.
Hey, that leaves me, and I'm an empty nester, so I took my dogs to see Santa and Mrs. Claus and got their picture with Santa. So that's my favorite one. I have no life anymore. So.
Well, that sounds like a picture we definitely want to have. So we definitely want that to be included. That'd be a fantastic one.
Yeah, they're cute.
I was going to say, I don't usually share mine, but I have to share. We took our dog to see Santa and tried to make the escape during it. And so there's a wonderful little video my phone just made. So I think that one might have to make an appearance. So Okay.
This is our mentorship podcast episode for today. So I think it's important for us to talk about the mentorship program. And so tell us about how you became a mentor or a mentoree. And did you join the program right away when you joined NASJE, or was this something that you developed later on that you were interested in joining this program? So why don't we first start off with Julie?
Sure thing. So I might be giving a little snippet to later questions, but I started at the National Center for State Courts in 2018. And while I had a background in curriculum development, I didn't really have a background in the courts. So once I learned about NASJE, I immediately was like, yes, I need a mentor. So I joined very quickly after I started in 2018, and I was assigned, I believe, by Leanne to Caroline.
It's fantastic. And Caroline, let's hear your story and how you became a mentor.
I think I did not join the mentor-mentee program right away. I feel like my first mentee was she was in Utah, Kim, and I was selected because her boss, if you will, is Tom Langhorne. And so I feel like I've been picked for various reasons for various people. And I think Julie and I were definitely, she's in Williamsburg, kind of up the road, if you will, in Richmond. So I've been maybe strategically picked for these reasons, but absolutely thrilled to get to be a mentor and have that opportunity to really show people what NASJE is all about and what an important piece of your career that it is, perhaps the most important piece. So I didn't necessarily sign up and say, give me every mentor you have, because I think it does take time and energy, and it's not something to be taken lightly. And so I only have 2 mentees that I can say that I've helped throughout the process, but it's a terrific one, and I'm so happy to have been a part of it.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. And Christine, we'll go ahead and start with you this time.
Okay. I guess I started a few years ago. I was in South Dakota and was familiar and an educator for many years, but came into the courts. And as the lone wolf in the state, really was seeking some connections outside of to make sure that I was doing the right thing, because the position was also new in the state. So I was seeking a mentor pretty much immediately. One of the things that I always enjoy is learning as much as I can about everything right away to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and saying the right things and developing the right stuff. And so, yeah, I joined right away, and it's been probably one of the most pivotal things that has had an impact on my career and as far as NASJE goes, for sure.
That's fantastic. And Leanne.
Yeah, I can address both sides of that. I was assigned a mentor my very first week on the job. Caroline was there as well. We started our NASJE experience at the same time, but I think it was about 2 years after I was a member when I became a mentor. And Kathleen Sikora out of California actually encouraged me to be a mentor. And we had mentor training then at the conference. I don't know if you remember that, Caroline, but we actually had a pre-conference thing where we trained mentors to be mentors under Kathleen. And I think my first one was South Dakota, but not Christine. She had a couple of precursors that were, I guess, part in education, part in other things down there. But kind of for the same reason, we're in the upper Midwest anyway. We have some small shops, and it was nice to be able to help out others, because I was a one-person show up here and couldn't have done it without NASJE or having that connection. So kind of give back a little bit to those that were in similar circumstances.
That's fantastic. And it's the time of year at the recording. It's the week of Christmas, so that's always a good segue to give back. So thank you so much for doing that. And Caroline and Lee, you guys have had fantastic careers, and we appreciate all of the work that you've done to assist in the mentorship program.
So we've been talking about our current roles a little bit, NASJE, but another fun question we like to ask is kind of the first step in how you got here. So just the lightning round of what was your first job? Leanne, why don't we pick up with you?
Like first job ever?
First job ever. It's very revealing.
Like high school?
Yeah.
I made pizza dough in a restaurant that was owned by my brother's girlfriend. So I was a pizza dough maker.
Nice. Lots of us restaurant workers around here. Christine?
Well, I was 14 in Rapid City, South Dakota, and I was working at Hardee's. Fun fact, it's by the convention center that hosted conferences, or concerts. So I often had bands that came in. Def Leppard, one at the time, came in, and I was able to serve them in Hardee's.
Nice.
Very cool.
Caroline?
My father, mom and dad owned a tractor company. So my first job, I guess, was filing and stuff there, paperwork, whatever they wanted me to do, basically. But my first real job hired by someone else was a lifeguard.
Nice.
Last but not least, I assume. My first job was a cashier at Revco, which was Mary Lou Retton was the representative for Revco back then, and Revco became Eckerd, which is what most people would be familiar with.
Nice.
So now that we've started from the beginning of your work experience, why don't we fast track to where we are currently? So what is your current role in your department? And we'll go ahead and, since we started last with Julie, we'll go ahead and make Julie go first.
Thanks. So I mentioned earlier I started at the center in 2018, so I'm coming up on 6 years technically in judicial education. I started in child protective services, and that led me into doing curriculum development for child welfare. So I had been in the courts a little, but just not in judicial education before coming to the center.
And what is your current role with the center right now?
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Aaron. Curriculum developer for all of the certified court manager and certified court executive courses with the center.
Fantastic. Christine.
Okay. I have been about 12 years, maybe just a little over 12 years, 12 and a half years. Started in South Dakota, worked at the National Center for a few years in Lincoln, Nebraska, and now we're in South Carolina. So I'm the court education administrator here. Just opened the division for the Supreme Court, brand new, and I will have been here for 4 years already in February.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yes, so.
And Leanne.
I have been here in North Dakota for 18 years, and I am the director of judicial branch education. Started out as the coordinator, and then they created the role of director. I think 2 years in, and then allowed me to hire staff, which was nice. So it's been kind of fun to actually grow a position that didn't exist before I started. So.
Yeah, to be on the ground floor of that change and that advancement in your state is fantastic. So that's really
their commitment to education has been awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And Caroline.
I've been here in Virginia in the same educational services department for a little over 20 years, various positions within the department, director for since 2006. But again, the same department the whole time, been through a few bosses, and now I'm in that position. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, I think I just got all the good questions. I drew the odds here. So what is your favorite part of NASJE? I know y'all have all been very involved. I was going to say, Christine, when you said 4 years, yeah, because that's when I met you, you were changing to that job. So
yeah. My favorite part of NASJE is really the connections you make with people. I've seen the growth within the organization over the past 12 years, most definitely, but I've always tried to put myself on committees so I could be with other professionals and make those connections, similar to Leanne being the mentor for me early on, just joining and connecting with folks, having someone that you can call if you have a question, because I have not really worked in any what I consider large shops. If I was in a leadership position. So looking forward to being able to, connect with other leaders in other states and who may have already done things that we're trying to do or being able to share. I think that's probably the biggest plus with being part of NASJE.
Julie?
Yeah, so I also just really love the networking, getting to know people and all the resources that we share, ideas that we share with one another. And I also really love getting to see new places by traveling to all the conferences.
Caroline?
Definitely, I was going to say just the camaraderie and the conferences are so fun. They're only once a year. So we only see some of our buddies here once a year, but it's just so renewing and refreshing when you get to hang out. We have such niche careers. It's just so comforting and amazing. And you walk away just, again, renewed for being around people who do what you do every day, all day. And it's amazing.
And Leanne?
Yeah, I'll tag on to that, Caroline. One of our justices here said, he's like, I can always tell when you've been with your NASJE people because you come back charged and happy and energized, which maybe I'm not charged, happy, and energized otherwise. I don't know. But the connections are amazing. You can travel across the country and literally know someone. And I consider the NASJE people friends, not just colleagues. I know anyone on this call, I could go and knock on their door and they would say, come on in. And it's been nice. And many of you have helped me out personally as well. So that's been a pleasure to have colleagues and friends from all over the place. So pretty cool.
And so I think it's interesting to hear, just what we do, and kind of touched on it, Leanne, what we do in our personal lives and during our personal time. And so what's something that you've read or saw, whether it was on TV or if it was a movie this past week, that everyone should check out? Because we're getting ready to head into the holiday weekend, and so we're going to have some free time on our hands. So why don't we start off with Leanne?
Oh, great. Well, I was going to say I went to a play this weekend, but you guys can't do that. But it was a really good play at our local community theater. But otherwise, I've been watching the final season of The Crown. So I know it's not real life, and I'm not a true royal junkie, but it is kind of, I don't know, imagined insights into a world that we just don't have here. So it's kind of escapism a little bit, but it is the final season. So I recommend it.
Yeah, if anyone's looking to binge watch something, that sounds like that's a great opportunity to get in all of the episodes at once. Caroline, what about you?
Well, the thing that I immediately thought of has nothing to do with any of this, but it's that time of year, and it was a meme, and it said something about I'm at that point in my online shopping where, if Amazon delivers a goat, I will not be surprised. And that is exactly where I am in my at this week. But more seriously, I'm on Adam Grant's newsletter, or I get some emails from him. I love to read anything that he's written. And I saw that there was a podcast. I may have even seen it today, but a podcast or an article or something on mentoring that I flagged that I want to go back to and look at. So we have a judicial mentoring program here in Virginia, and I thought that there might be something in that to grab for that purpose. So that could be useful to others as well.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Julie, what about you?
Gosh, so many things. I'm also watching The Crown. I'm a big fan of those things, and I just fact check them. Like, I know they're not real, but there's some stuff that is. I'll have to fact check it. But There's so many good things, but one of them is the book that I got at the last NASJE conference about self-care while being a part of, helping others learn about racial justice. And that book is amazing, and I'll have to get you guys the exact title and author because I can't remember it right this second off the top of my head. But I Googled the author and found a great podcast as well, called Dear White Women, which I have been enjoying listening to as well. So I'll have to send that information so you guys can provide it with the podcast.
Yeah, please do. That'd be great. Thank you so much. And Christine.
Both kind of personal and professional. Professionally, I think many of us, have been charged with doing some AI education. I have mandatory for judges for next year, a full day to develop. So I was very happy to see last week when the National Center sent out its new resource website with all the AI stuff. So I have been looking to immerse myself and learn a little bit more about all of those things and researching some of the podcasts and from NACM and also some of the past webinars that the National Center has been doing and how we can, use some of those resources to our advantage. But on a personal level, and this kind of goes down, we have a goal question later on, but looking at some of the John Maxwell books that I've been dusting off a little bit off the shelf, having just recently increased the number of employees on our team and looking for the future, possibly increasing again, looking at trying to brush up a little bit on some of my leadership and more kind of soft skills, if you will. Not really taking a lot of time. Growing a new division is pretty time intensive and demanding. And so I haven't often taken time to read things for my own personal professional growth. It's mostly been subject matter content. So that's one thing that I have that I've been dusting off and opening whenever I have the opportunity to do so. And kind of the 101 collection of that he has is the one that I've been using lately.
No, I think that's fantastic. It's a good time of year to self-reflect and to grow. So I think that's fantastic, Christine. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we selfishly keep this question in for our own benefit. I'm now on like 5 emails that I religiously read every week because Dot and Margaret and other people told me on the podcast I should read them. So always a good source of information. And now kind of a little bit of unofficial mentoring talk. Who has been the most influential NASJE member on your career? So it may have been your mentor, maybe not your formal mentor. Caroline, you want to start us out here? Oh, you're muted.
I just wanted to make sure we said that once during the Zoom meeting, or it's just not a Zoom meeting. That's an easy one. Tom Langhorn hired me. He's a dear friend and was the best boss ever, and just taught me so much about, and continues to teach me so much about judicial education, living well, all of those things. And then 2, I'll add in Maureen Connor. She and I still work together some, despite her being retired, if you will. She started, she was a consultant and helped with our judicial mentoring program, and now is helping develop our mentor clerk program. So just really thankful for her being a mentor as well.
Awesome. Leanne?
The list is long. I thought about this even before it was on the question, and Tom was at the top of my list as well. He's a dear, dear friend and has a beautiful soul. But I really thought about it, and my person is Joseph and Sawyer. I should probably tell Joseph that. I've had the pleasure of working with Joseph in many different capacities. But I just always appreciate his insight, his depth of knowledge, his willingness to drop everything and help you out, whether it was a technical issue early on, diversity issues later, teaching skills, travel, whatever. He's just been a great asset to NASJE and someone that I keep on my speed dial back in the day because I knew he would help with whatever. But his person is the more I think what I try to emulate. He's just, I don't know, he just seems to have the right answers at the right moments, and I appreciate that. And then I will also add in Christy Toll from Ohio has also been their director to director, dealing with policy and employment and other things that you have to deal with as a director versus just curriculum and teaching, which is the fun part. So having those other directors has been a real benefit to have those people as part of my life, my work life.
Christine?
I will say pretty influential out of the gate, and I consider a friend too, is Leanne. Having been the mentor and having been kind of the lone wolf for, quite a while, I appreciated the willingness, the openness of her to let me come visit and see how they do things, planning some courses together and just being there. I currently serve also another role as the chair of the membership committee, and Leanne I was with her for a little bit in that role as well. And she's always willing to step up and, take on whatever she needs to do to help others. And I appreciate that about her. I would also say Tony Simons, although it was kind of short-lived, he was pretty influential and kind of gave me the little boost of confidence I needed as far as having some leadership roles within NASJE and kind of scooting me in that direction. Having volunteered for about as much as I possibly could take on. I'm a habitual volunteerer of things, which is good. But I think also there are a few of our current board members who have been pretty much shoulders I could lean on, no matter what position I was in, whether they were board members at the National Center, whether it's director to director. I contact Jeff quite a bit in Arizona. He's been a good support system when I'm putting together new policies, procedures. We opened a new judicial education center in May, and so getting some kind of how they do things and how they run their center has been pretty pivotal. So I would just say having all these connections with NASJE members, like I said, is so important and really invaluable. When you're the expert in your area for your court, you don't have anyone else in-house to run to. So yeah. I've had lots of members, but I appreciate Leanne and Jeff and Tony for sure.
And Julie?
Thanks. So I'm going to follow suit here. There's too many to name just one, but Caroline was a really great help of getting me into NASJE and helping me understand a little bit more about the courts, as I mentioned before. I work at the center in the education group with the Institute for Court Management, and my supervisor is Margaret Allen Hoyt, and she has been amazing to work with and really helped me to understand all of the different pieces and how they come together, not just with NASJE, but with the state courts all around the country. And most recently, I got to serve as a co-chair with Christine Christopherson, whose feet I actually followed here into the position. She had left the curriculum developer position at ICM, and getting to work with her on the conference committee when we planned the conference for New Orleans was also immensely helpful. I just got to learn so much that I never even thought I needed to know. So,
and now you know.
I think I will. I'm planning a workshop for Arizona actually in the spring, so it's definitely helping me.
And I think everyone kind of, hit the nail on the head there. There's so many beneficial members. Sometimes it is hard to just narrow it down to one, but it just goes to show how willing and able everyone is to help. Even though you may be your lone wolf in your jurisdiction or you're one of just a select few, having this community to reach out to gain perspective is extremely helpful. And Leanne, I work with Joseph Sawyer here in Illinois now, so I definitely can agree with everything that you've said, and I'll make sure to pass on your kind words as well. But I think it's important now that we kind of transition to maybe we ask just the mentors or mentees some questions. So I first want to ask the mentors, why did you become a mentor? What kind of drew you into kind of giving back to the organization and to the association? So first I'll go ahead and I'll ask Caroline.
I honestly will say that I think Leanne could ask me to do anything, and I'd pretty much say, of course. And she had to get me to do this. And I think the biggest reason, not because I don't want to be a mentor, but because I really, at some point you think, what on earth do I have to offer to a new person coming into NASJE? You still think you're figuring it out yourself. So I am glad that I have done it, of course. And like I tell our judges who are becoming mentors, you gain as much, if not more, than the people that you're mentoring. And you gain friendship. Not every time, but this with Julie was certainly the case. And so you gain, I mean, it's not something that you can list out easily. Here are all the benefits, but it's hugely rewarding. And as you all know very well, you learn more when you teach something, and so you become more engaged yourself and kind of give your career a little jump start, if you will, if you're kind of getting a little tired perhaps of same thing every day, which is it ever the same thing? No, but gives you a little jump start if you've been in it a while, as I have.
And it's also a good opportunity too. Maybe you're interested in becoming in a leadership position. Maybe it's a good opportunity to kind of, spread your wings a little bit and, kind of help out and kind of get some real world experience with that. So thank you so much, Caroline. And Leanne, what about you? Why did you become a mentor?
Oh, it's a good question, but I'm going to connect it back to my mentor. His name was Philip Gold, and he was from Nebraska, but he was a graduate student of Pat Murrell's. And some of you know Pat personally. And he introduced me to Pat. I went to Pat's leadership training in Memphis. And one of the things she taught was stages of development. And part of those stages is being generative. And that was super important to Pat. And Pat has been a major influence on. I always tell her that before she passed away, that she changed my life, not just my work, but she changed my life of how I looked at learning and how I looked at where I am personally and professionally. But that idea of being generative as giving back, of leaving places better than you found them, of sharing what you've known. So I always say that Pat's kind of been the little person on my shoulder saying, you have to do this. And I think once you do it once, you're like, yeah. And I think the biggest part for me, helping people in that, but also continuing on with NASJE. I spend a lot of time with my mentees talking about NASJE and NASJE's purpose and principles, and trying to get them connected in the way that I was able to connect with NASJE. So maybe a little bit of perpetuating the good, right, that NASJE has done for all of us.
Okay, and now I will flip it over to the mentees. What is the main thing that you've gained as a mentee? So we'll start with Christine.
Okay. Well, I think that's easy. It pretty much echoes everything that I love about NASJE. It gives you someone to connect with, someone to ask questions of, when you're new to a position. And, generally judicial educators either come from the legal side or the education side, and there's some gap to fill in. So having someone that you can ask questions of that maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable just asking out loud, because you're in this role, you're supposed to know what you're doing, right? So having that person, creating the friendships, I think, resources, ideas, again, being able to talk with someone who may have already paved the path ahead for you to be able to have some insights to develop your own thoughts on the same topics. I have always appreciated anyone in my life who was willing to be those folks for me. And in doing so, I also transitioned into a mentor position for NASJE the last couple of years. But anyway, I still enjoy the mentee role to play that. So I still like to reach out to everyone and make sure every once in a while with Leanne, I'll still shoot her a question or ask her how she does something or what their policy websites, transitioning to rapid content development. I think we were in a similar position when COVID hit with new LMS, and how do we do this as one person? So definitely having just someone to connect with, ask those questions of, and just feel comfortable with, I think is important and valuable as a mentee and someone new to the profession.
Julie?
Did I just say ditto? No, okay. Really, I mean, everybody has hit all of the things from, what the mentors did for the mentees and what Christine just said about what she got out of it as a mentee. But I mean, Caroline also mentioned it. I got a friend out of it, but it was really nice to have somebody that was not in my exact position or in my organization that I could talk to outside of it that was a member of NASJE. I was assigned my mentor before my very first conference, and we actually met face to face at the president's reception at my very first conference. It was really nice to have somebody that somebody else. I only knew, like 2 people going into my first NASJE conference, and I got to meet this other person who was very helpful in helping me as I associated and decided what to do at my first conference. So I think everything that's been said and more. I don't know if Leanne knew it when she assigned Caroline to me, but we both have 14-year-old boys, not then, now. But then we had 9-year-old boys. And so that's been just another added benefit that we can talk about, like what our boys are doing. So.
No, I did not know that, but I'm happy that
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's hard to believe that we're, heading into the end of 2023. The year has absolutely flown by for all of us, I'm sure. But as we turn the corner and as we head into 2024, what is your goal for the new year? So why don't we go ahead and start off with Christine?
Okay. I kind of prefaced this already a little bit. For me, one of the things I want to do is kind of dust off some of my leadership skills. Again, building and growing and adding new staff. It's like, oh, I'm not by myself anymore. So let's figure out what we used to do, what works good with this team, and how I can move forward. So definitely becoming better and figuring out how to be the best leader I can here. Not only with my staff, but also with the division. We will be transitioning in July with a new Chief Justice and the possibility of other executive level staff at the same time. So making sure that, I've positioned court education in a favorable spot to move forward and be a good leader in that way. Personally, I'd like to find more time to do more reading, whether it's professional reading or things I like to read for fun. I guess the last thing that I thought of was a particular skill that I'd like to be able to work on a little bit is paying better attention to detail. I found sometimes a date is wrong in an email or something silly, and I'm like, I looked at that so many times. How did I miss that? So maybe the day-to-day skill for me is to just pay attention to detail a little bit better. Those are my goals. 3.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Leanne.
Okay, this will sound dumb, but I can retire in 4 years. So my goals are kind of 4-year type goals, but we just got our 5-year strategic plan. I do one every 5 years and got that approved by the court. So now we're in implementation stage. So that is goal number 1, is to actually implement everything that's in there. Some of them have been long goals that haven't been accomplished, but to do that, which I will need my NASJE folks to for help with some of it, because it's areas that clearly we haven't been able to accomplish yet. So then on a personal note, as we're starting to think retirement, my husband and I, of where we're going to go and what we're going to do when we're not doing this, one of our goals is to travel more. And we travel a lot to mountains and our kids. One's in Virginia and one's in Colorado. But we're all going to Belize in January. So it's our first, besides Canada and Mexico, it's our first international travel all together as a family. So we're trying to do that and kind of figure out where we're going to go next. So travel and work.
No, that sounds fantastic. I think my goal is to go with Leanne. That sounds like a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoy that trip. Julie, What about you?
So lots of goals, but professionally, one of my goals for next year is to start working on my certified court manager. I'm take care of all the curriculum. I observe a lot of courses, but I haven't actually been a participant in any of them. So I'm going to take those courses and officially get my certified court manager at least started in 2024. I don't know if I'll finish it depending on schedule and all of those things. Personally, trying to get on top of finances and try to get my house a little more organized, I think are my two big goals for me this coming year.
No, I think it's a good opportunity. As we head into the new year, we had maybe too much at Thanksgiving and we really overdid it at Christmas time, that it's a good chance to relook and reevaluate everything. So I thank you so much for sharing. And Caroline.
Well, now I have more goals because I like all of yours. And so I'm going to add those on this very long list. But what I immediately thought of personally and professionally was slow down. And that's obvious personally, perhaps, but professionally, I feel like we really do go event to event to event and never stop for a second. I'd like to take a minute to think about the event that we just did before immediately pushing that folder aside or that file online and moving on to the next event. And I'm not quite sure how to do that. You would think by now I would have that down, but I don't. So there's still work to do on that. And also in my department, it's grown a little bit as well. I now have a wellness coordinator. So that position is just 2 years old and just feel like we haven't developed that to its full capacity, and we need to focus on that a little bit more, as well as the part-time judicial outreach liaison that I have. He's a retired judge. He's been in the position about 6 months at this point. So I feel like I need to devote a little more attention perhaps to those positions. But it's thrilling to have that in the department and both of those. And again, look forward to just further development on those and slowing down and maybe focusing a little bit more on some things that have just been kind of rote and they just come every year. And again, just slow down is my goal. We'll see how that goes.
No, I think that's fantastic. And, speaking of wellness, we in the state of Illinois have a wellness committee at our administrative office of Illinois courts, and it's been a huge success and a huge benefit for us here in the state of Illinois to have well-being and mental health kind of be a topic of conversation. So I think it's fantastic that other jurisdictions across the country are making that a focus as well. So thank you for sharing the goals.
And we are quickly approaching the end of our time that y'all have allotted for us. So we really appreciate that. We like to end every session kind of sharing more advice with the people who decide to listen to these. So I'll start with Julie, and our last question will be, what is the best advice you've ever received? And it can be personal, professional, whatever you think.
So I think the best advice I've ever received really came from a video about fall forward or fail forward. And that is just that, not to look at failure as such, but as an opportunity to learn something. And just nothing has to be perfect, that it's okay if it's not perfect. You can continue to make it better each time you improve upon it. So
nice. Leanne?
I'm going to have to say it is finish what you start. It's been something I live by and I've instilled in my children that if you make a commitment, you follow it through, whether that's sports, school, jobs, whatever, that other people rely on us. And if we quit, it puts them in a panic. And that's just something that if I'm going down a path, not that I won't evaluate it, Caroline, and look at it, but just stay committed to what I've committed myself to.
Christine?
Sure. I had a really supportive court administrator when I was in South Dakota and started, and oftentimes felt like, am I in the right spot? Am I the right person doing this? And so something that she told me was, believe you can do it and you will. And I think that was from some pretty sage advice that I got from her. And so with each new endeavor, that's kind of how it goes. And yeah, it's worked out pretty good so far.
And last but not least, Caroline.
The first thing I thought of was related to parenting. Someone told me the days are long and the years are short, and that is just so true. But in that vein, just and again in the wellness vein, Erin, that we've been talking about, just trying to be grateful and have gratitude. So all of that combined, just take a minute, as I said, slow down. You can see the theme in my life right now, and I'm trying to heed that advice and remember that, yes, the days are long, but the years are short. And so try to enjoy what you can and slow down.
And that rounds out what we have for you on this installment of the podcast. But one last thing I wanted to mention is that Christine is our chair of the Membership and Mentor Committee, along with all the other things she does, like serving on the NASJE board. So if you want more information about that, reach out to her, and we'll definitely share the links to the applications and how to get involved right below this recording.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.